Like, I think the matchup, if you're going to look at a specific matchup to follow, it's Orange and Jones, right? That has to be
couldn't agree more. Yeah,
the
couldn't agree
matchup.
more.
So my question is, let's look for a second at how Iowa played, because the one area where Iowa really did dominate Albany the way you're supposed to dominate a team of that level is up front on the offensive line. And I thought they protected Gronowski fairly well too, but especially with that ground game, you didn't know totally what to expect with a couple of new starters. And I thought the left tackles played well. And then Cade Pieper played well. So I'm just curious. That's the question for me is Iowa going to be, they're not going to go out and run for 300, but are you at all concerned with line play from Iowa State? I know Orange is really good, but are you concerned that maybe Iowa dominates on the ground for a while?
I mean, yes and no, because I mean, obviously that's what Iowa's going to try to do. So that's your main focal point there. The good part about Iowa State having one played 2 games already, but then one also played Kansas State ahead of time, is that while Kansas State is a little bit more dynamic on offense, they've got some better athletes. It's the same general concept. You're still running kind of like you're still running calling Iowa a power spread is tough, but it's kind of, you're not that far apart. Kansas State and Iowa are fairly similar teams, just with different athletes at skill positions and stuff like that, both offensively and defensively, actually. So Iowa State has has played well against a fairly decent analog to Iowa, because ordinarily Iowa at this point in the season is completely different than anything Iowa State's going to play till like November. Iowa State's already got that off the schedule and already beaten a team like that. So that's encouraging. And we saw that Kansas State is who won was, I want to say they were top 5 in the country in yards per attempt on the running game last year. They were very, very efficient in the running game. Held Kansas State to virtually nothing on the ground 2 weeks ago in Dublin. And especially with a very good running quarterback in Avery Johnson. So Mark Gronowski being able to run the ball is obviously great for Iowa. That's a different dimension that they just have not had in a long, long time. Iowa State has already played a quarterback that is a better runner than Mark Gronowski. Now, does that mean that he's a different runner? He's not nearly as physical as Gronowski can be, but it's
Gronowski likes the contact. I don't know.
Yeah, Avery Johnson is a coward.
I've never seen it. I'll say this about Mark on Friday, Saturday, and he would say the same thing. There wasn't a lot to look at. There was like, wow, he was really good. But he came in and like there was one play where they called forward progress when he got hit. And I mean, the defender blitzed and ran right into him, and he just took it and stood there. And then they blew the whistle as he's throwing, which they shouldn't have blown the whistle. But he really does look for content, Mark.
He's a physical runner, and he's a point of emphasis for Iowa State as far as tackling goes and stuff like that, making sure you're not missing tackles, which through the first 2 weeks, the defense has done a very good job of tackling and wrapping up when they need to. But as far as to get back closer to your original question with Dominic Orange, who is an extremely good defensive line, nose tackle. He had a good game in Kinnick last year. He's had 2 very good games so far. With the way Iowa State's defense is structured with a 3-3 stack, I mean, the nose tackle he's the linchpin of the entire rest of the operation in defending the run. So if Dominic Orange plays up to his ability and plays kind of like he did last year, that's a great start. We've seen a promising start from McKinney Eziogu at one of the other end spots, doing a good job shooting gaps. He knocked down, I want to say 3 passes against Kansas State, batting them down at the line of scrimmage. He's really big body. He's like 6'6", 285, big size. It was always kind of a question of like motor. He's newer to football, so it's getting up to speed with the college game and his motor and stuff like that. But the early signs of this season so far have been very good. You have Tomatolo McDonough on the other side. The other defensive end has had a couple good, he's not played a ton of snaps so far, but the early returns are fairly good. The big thing with Iowa State that they'll have this year that they didn't even have last year in the Iowa game is having lots and lots of depth at linebacker. So far, the only major injury we've seen there is Carson Willich. It's not really a major injury. He's just questionable for Saturday. But Caleb Bacon has had a good return to form after missing basically all of last season. Cooper Ebel has been really, really good the first 2 weeks. Will McLaughlin, Cale Berzina, I would say that a really nice showing from the linebacker group so far, and the depth that we knew that we thought the linebacker group would have, where they could play 6, 7, 8, even maybe 9 guys some games and feel pretty good about it, has largely come to fruition. They've been as good as we kind of hoped they would be. But part of Iowa State's run game too is the safeties. The safeties are a massive part in defending the run for Iowa State and coming down and meeting guys at the line of scrimmage. And fortunately, Iowa State's safeties have been better than advertised. They've been good enough. They moved Jeremiah Cooper to corner to make room for another safety in Kaijon Cummings-Coleman. Kaijon Cummings-Coleman, Marcus Neal, and Jamison Patton have been a very, very good trio of safeties so far. Cummings-Coleman has had, he's a freshman, so he's had like a couple spots where he looked like a freshman, but for the most part, he's been very, very good. Marcus Neal was incredible in Farmageddon. If you guys watched the game, he was a safety coming up and regularly hitting Avery Johnson at the line of scrimmage on the read options. He was very good. So right now, Iowa State's run defense looks pretty good. They've got lots of depth there. It's where if Iowa were to try to sit back and go old school like Sean Green, just try to pound and pound and pound and pound and pound, Iowa State's got the depth to withstand that for quite a while. We'll see. The scheme wise, so in my opinion, it'll be largely dependent on scheme and winning individual matchups, winning individual running back talent, things like that. So I don't know if worry is the right word, but like it's definitely like a focal point when you're defending Iowa, like it is any other year. But they've got a good stable of running backs, but Iowa State's got the defensive depth to sit there and withstand a persistent Iowa running game.